Kia ora and welcome to another Aotearoa Rugby Pod. We're here in the away changing rooms at Eden Park because our studio is getting rebuilt down the way. The last 50 teams that have come here to play the All Blacks have walked back into this dressing room without a victory. And that's pretty damn good, isn't it? With that note, let's have one of the guys who's, I don't know, you were definitely involved in some of those, Tana, weren't you?
Couple.
How's life back in All Blacks camp?
It's good. It's pretty full on as you'd expect. Short turnarounds and people coming back from different environments and then trying to get all on the same page. So that's been interesting. But again, we've got a good group of both staff and players that are really engaged in terms of what we need to do, and they have a good understanding of what it takes to get a good performance out this weekend.
Hey, Tana, awesome, mate. Congratulations, first and foremost, to be back in the All Black environment. Must be a proud moment for not only yourself, but your family to be back involved with the All Blacks. I guess the question that we've been kind of thinking around is that, the lead-in time, only having, probably 10 days to be able to try and get your defensive pitches in, your attack and your scrums and everything that I guess it comes with coming in such a short time. How's that been for you guys as coaches, and what's been the critical few things I guess you've tried to sort out, or maybe you haven't been able to do that, but how's that process been for you?
For us as coaches, it's really how can we keep the main thing the main thing? It's not just for footy that you have to think about when you come into an All Black camp. It's all the other things that go with it, and the commercial side, and making sure that we service our sponsors and our supporters that have been behind us, the community aspect of that as well. It's just, as you know, there's only so many hours in the day, and making sure that, well, either if these are the big rocks, and this is what we've got to focus on. We can't, we can touch on everything, but probably we just really need to focus on and simplify, what we need to get through to get us through to the weekend. And again, credit to our group, especially our staff and coaching group, and Dave for what he's done and making sure that he keeps us aligned. And these things are important, so let's make sure that with our players, these are the things that we're going to back ourselves for that short time frame. But it is what it is. Previous All Black regimes have always had to go through this. And so, it's just our turn, really.
Obviously, defense is a lot about focusing on yourself. And
Mm.
I suppose attitude will dictate a lot of how well you go. And I'm using your words there. But I think what opportunities have you seen or challenges you may face against the French? They scored a hell of a lot of points in the Six Nations and are becoming quite an attacking juggernaut.
Oh, 100%. And it's good that you've remembered some of this defense, Chipper, because, yeah, don't worry, I've still kept it and passed that on to, the group that we have now. Oh, look, they're an exciting team to watch. And, they've kind of found that French flair again, haven't they? They want to play from all parts of the field. They're always looking to attack, when there's opportunities, and the quality of the players that they've got. Obviously Bordeaux didn't get through to the top 14 finals stages yet. They're the champions of the European Cup and things like that. So they've got some great experienced guys that have been around for a bit, and I'm sure they're going to be relying on those combinations. And we saw how they won that final too. Again, they when they get their opportunity, they don't have a lot of rucks, but when they do, they try and make and score points as soon as they can, and that's again something that we've got to be aware of and focus on, and make sure that we've got answers for that.
How much of your time and experience in the French system, you had some time over there as a player and a coach. Have you lent into that, or has the game evolved past those sorts of times?
No, the game's evolved since then. I think through my period in France, it was very combative, a lot of kicking, and I just think the skill set, and they went through a period there where I think they realised that their rugby had changed to become very um, physical and around scrum, and now, as you can see, the way Fabien Galtier has probably had a great influence in terms of that and how they're developing their young players through those systems. It's all about looking up. This is where we see opportunities. Let's keep the ball alive until we can create space for each other. And I suppose they've gone back to their identity of old, isn't it? That's what we used to see quite a lot of and now they're quite more. I suppose they're more consistent around what they do, and that's that's exciting for the game of rugby, and that's probably why it's going so well in their country, and uh, it's a good challenge for us first up.
Tana, what can you do as a player to not allow them the opportunity? You know, what are the key things that a player has to keep in mind to make sure that the French don't do something from nowhere?
Don't take it for granted that they'll kick it out, and it's just making sure that we're fully aware about what we're up against, and as Jip talked about, with the short time frame, we've really got to, especially from a defence perspective, really focus on ourselves and what we can do, and how do we get on the same page, and that we're all, you know, connected in terms of what we want to do, and have real belief in that, and have the right attitude to really, not just contain them, but we want to pressure them, because they're going to play a lot. We need to pressure those skill sets as much as we can, um, and not just sit back and wait for them to do everything, because obviously you let them dictate terms. So from a player's perspective, is first and foremost, get to know each other around what we're doing, make sure that you're understanding your roles and responsibilities. And, we've had some good sessions with that here, with Dave around our culture and who we represent. And everyone knows, how much the All Blacks mean to us, not just as individuals and as a group here, but as a nation. And, that's, as Brenna talked about, like who we're representing is key for us.
Just with, I guess, Tana, like I think it's quite a unique situation, right? I think with how Dave Rennie was obviously in Kobe, Mike Blair as well. You guys are obviously doing your own thing here in New Zealand. Like, and I can only imagine it hasn't been a 10-day lead up, maybe for the players that have just been selected. But I guess for you guys as coaching group, how was that like process? It would have been quite unforeign, but the alignment, did it happen quite quickly? Is it still working? Like, do you know what I mean? Has it been a challenging period, or how's that been for you and your coaching group as well?
Oh, look, I'd have to say it was challenging because we're not all on the same
Mm,
continent and the time zones. And, we didn't have, like, when we talk around exactly as you're saying, our lead up, you know, sometimes, and most of the times, it was an early morning um, Zoom or, video call. And early morning for us was, 9 o'clock, 8:30, which means it was like 5:30 or, in Japan. But, so Renz doesn't sleep much. So that was fine with him. It was just, creating time, and then both obviously with Mike and Dave having them go to their Corvette training, and fitting in between Super Rugby here when I was with Moana, and all those all kinds of things. Just trying to make it work. And then when we get in the same place, then it's actually, well, now we're how do we get into our own rhythm?
mm,
This is how the process of our days and our weeks work, because that's, as you know, every coach is different and what they, how they run their cutter. And so again, it's just us finding our feet, and especially because some of us are a bit older now too. We get stuck in our ways a bit, and so we're always adapting every day. And then you add on technology. Oh my gosh! But no, it's fun. We're fortunate we've all got a sense of humor, but I think we all kind of work hard, and we've got good people around us to help us.
How's it been from your point of view, meeting new players and players you probably haven't coached before? Because I know you're massive on, I suppose, two things that you made me feel is, how do I help you solve your problems, and how do we have each other's backs? Has that process been quite fun?
As you know, it just doesn't happen overnight, and it's getting an understanding of the individuals we have, and I just remember one of our first days, just sitting in, man, like, as we all are, first and foremost, we're fans of the All Blacks, and you've coached against these players, and you've tried to look for little areas that we can take advantage of. Yet now, when you're and you're watching them the way they prepare, and you see again, as you should expect, it's it's not luck that they're in this room. That's not luck that they're as good as they are. You see the amount of preparation, the knowledge, and the hard work that goes into it. And so you kind of, once you snap out of that, and then you've got to go talk to that guy, talk to him, and try not to talk too much about footy. I like to take interest in life, and what you're doing outside of footy, and because the X's and O's will come soon enough. And, trying to get a connection there is key for us. So it's been awesome, just the ability to talk to these guys. And I suppose the other side for me is on my half is that, again, my reputation probably precedes me where I goes to. So, there's a little bit of that, do I talk to him or can I talk to him? And so I think I've got to be the first one that makes that step where I kind of humble myself or, you know, show a bit of vulnerability and make a dick of myself first after that. Oh, actually, don't believe what anyone says about him.
That's a really interesting point you make about the scouting you've done and all the guys in the squad who you've coached against. Is there anyone that surprised you? You thought, this is who I thought you were, but I've seen something extra that I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
For me, I think for some of these players, it's just natural, oh yeah, they're just, but then when you're watching them work and the amount of detail and that they do their homework in, and you know what I mean? It says, oh, he just doesn't turn up there because that's what he thought, that's what I do. It's actually, he knows I've studied and, that you give them one bit of feedback and then the very next time they're in training, you see that put into place. That's what I look for. It's just, they take instruction and they say, oh, okay, they adapt, they put it into that memory bank, and then the next time they get a chance, they execute. And I think for me, that's just awesome. That's amazing, and then you kind of have an appreciation of, actually, it's not, again, like I say, that it's not just talent that gets them to do that. They're doing their work at the same time.
Yeah, and that's why they're All
Yeah.
Blacks in the end, right?
Yeah.
That's right. And that's what you'd expect. They've got their growth mindset too.
But I think that's a key message to all the young players out there as well. Is like, you're never complete. Like, actually having vulnerability as a player to hear and listen that you can improve, and wanting that and craving that and then executing it, rather than, I suppose there's some players that probably reach their ceiling early because they don't want to hear those sorts of bits of feedback.
That's important too, but also at this level, because it goes two ways as well. Like, we have a view on how things should be done. But these guys have got a lot of that IP around rugby as well, and they've got some ideas that they've seen. And so, as I said to our players, I said, it doesn't matter to me who's right, just as long as we get it right for us.
Yeah.
And so just having that growth mindset around that age, that's the most important too.
Considering that there's 3 test matches before the biggest tour going to South Africa, which is going to be a really exciting thing for Kiwis and probably yourself and the players, like, theoretically, like, for you guys, is this 3 test matches? I know the expectation is we always win every single test match. That's the what the public wants in that. But are you guys finding these 3 test matches to hopefully get a win, implement your game plan when it comes to attack, defense, everything that's involved in that, to then the big tour and then being able to obviously give yourself a best chance to win that series? Is that what it's kind of looking like?
Yeah, we're the All Blacks, and we want to win every test.
Yeah.
And our nation expects us to win every test.
Mm.
Yes, rugby's greatest rivalry is around the corner. Yet we can't look past this week in France and step through these 3 tests. We've got to. If we look too far ahead, we're going to miss something. And we're not at that stage as a young group.
Yep.
Who've come together. When I say young, in terms of us coming together as a whole, that we look too far ahead, and so it's we're playing in front of a sellout crowd in Christchurch. They're not worried about RGR at this stage, are they? So for us, it's players' perspective. This week's the most important week. The group that gets us. This is what we got to get, and we'll be doing everything we can. And
Yep.
When that time comes to it, we'll deal with that. But at least, and behind, we've got to look big picture as well, and that's up to the staff to do that.
How proud are you of Ardie Savea? Like, you saw him grow as a leader through Moana Pacifica to now be leading the All Blacks. You must be, really happy for him.
100%, over the moon. I was fortunate to, work with him at Moana, and I, see, what his leadership did for us there. And also, even this year, you saw what we were missing, in terms of having that, that person that everyone looked to, can feed off, especially in those key moments, and also someone that would, uplift people when times were tough. You know what I mean? And So to see him lead our country, again, was a proud moment. And as we know, for our heritage and the people that we represent, again, it's just a great marker for everyone that around. And like I said, like everybody, I'm proud of to have him with us and doing what he's doing.
And what have you seen from him while he's doing it in camp? Does he look like he was kind of very comfortable and I suppose he's been there a long time, he understands the role?
Everyone's got a different style of leadership, and you can just see when he speaks, people listen. We're very fortunate that he's got other leaders around him. That this is something that I noticed last year, is that he's very good at bringing other people through, and letting. He doesn't have to be the main one that talks, and as we know, that's how his style of leadership is. But he's very good at getting around another person to, hey, look, you have something to say today. Be ready. I'm going to come to you, or I'd like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I said, we're fortunate that we've got a lot of leaders in this group, and it's just about growing them into that space as well. So, we're not always looking to one person to get us out of something.
Yeah.
We can always do that as a collective.
Thank you very much, Tana. Have a wonderful week. Hope it goes very well on the weekend.
Cheers, T.
Thank you very much.